Now let's go to Brandon Johnson's campaign headquarters, the Marriott Marquis Chicago Ballroom. Our Dana Kozlov and Chris Ty there for us tonight. Dana, Chris.
Erica and Joe, you know, we were listening to, and you were as well, Alderman Brian Hopkins a short time ago, and others at Paul Vallis's campaign talking about waiting for the mail-in ballots to be counted, et cetera. And so there was sort of a calm over there. Here, not the case. The energy is ramping up literally by the minute. There are hundreds of people now inside the Marriott Marquis Ballroom in support of Brandon Johnson, including members, many members of his very large family. In fact, I talked to one of Commissioner Johnson's sisters just a short time ago. As of 10 minutes ago, he went ahead more than 1,000 votes in what is a crazy tight race. I know you're here with another sister at least. Your thoughts when you saw that?
Speaking honestly, I'd expected nothing. I didn't prepare for concession. I just always believed that my brother was going to be the mayor of the city of Chicago.
Has he had the full support of all of his many siblings?
Absolutely. This is Brandon's path, and he's been on it for quite some time. He really is the guy that you see. He is a good guy who loves people, loves his family, and that's how we were raised. And so I'm just excited about that the world gets to see who my big brother is.
Of course, the results still not in yet and may not be in tonight. But boy, Chris, there's a sense of just assuredness there when Brandon Johnson's sister is talking about, yeah, I never even thought there'd be a concession.
It seems like everybody in this room is sort of family tonight, and they all are claiming that they thought this was how it was going to be. But, I mean, it was so narrow, 50-50 about 40 minutes ago, and now we have that gap of, 7,000 votes. I spoke a short time ago with Alderman Rossana Rodriguez from the 33rd District, 33rd Ward, who talked to us about the excitement inside the Johnson camp, because as you've talked to me about, she has been one of the most vocal supporters, really putting her finger on the nerve sometimes politically when it wasn't politically expedient to do so. She talked about how in her own political case, she had to wait weeks to find out whether or not she won, and she indicated to us that that may be the case here as well. Let's listen to what she told me a short time ago.
Are you a bit shell-shocked right now, or is this what you were expecting?
I think that we expected it to be close like this. I think it looks a lot like we thought it was going to look. We are very excited that right now it looks very good for us. It looks very good for Brandon. I think that right now we're up by 1,100 votes. But we knew it was going to be close. Every poll said that it was going to be really close. Today we did a lot of turnout. Today we dedicated ourselves completely to GOTV to get out the vote. People were knocking on doors everywhere in Chicago, and our ground game is really hard to beat.
Their ground game is hard to beat. You know, I think for folks who are plugged in watching minute-by-minute coverage tonight, you want to know the mechanics of this. What happens next? Where do we go? Obviously, that conversation that Alderman Hopkins was talking about between the two camps to kind of navigate tonight. That's the micro. And then the macro is, how long might this take to get some resolution? And the answer is, in the larger span of things, it could be not days, it could be weeks.
It could be. And, you know, interestingly, too, as Alderman Hopkins told Marie, you know, the two candidates have to talk. And there could be a scenario. Usually one is a concession and a congratulations, and then one comes out and concedes publicly, et cetera, right? Tonight, what we could see potentially tonight is each candidate, including Commissioner Brandon Johnson, coming out and saying, listen, things are looking good for us right now, but we need to wait and see, but we're confident. So it may not be a victory speech here. It may not be a concession speech here. It may just be an agreement to say, let's wait and see.
The race that we thought was maybe going to end 5 weeks ago tonight might not end tonight. It might not end tomorrow. We may be here into the meat of April until we get some sort of resolution here.
Could be.
You know, it also struck me, Jim and Marie were talking about how the Vallis campaign in the last hour or so has kind of tightened up. They really aren't sharing much. It's the exact opposite inside this room. We have seen famous face after famous face make their way out talking to members of the media because they're trying to seize on this moment.
Right, and like I said earlier, you know, the energy just keeps ramping up and up. So even though these folks here may be aware that there could be a long few days ahead, the folks here right now are acting definitely like they are at a winning camp.
Absolutely. That's the situation here. It evolves every 20 minutes. Come back to us then, and we'll let you know where things stand, Joe and Erica.
Chris, Dana, thank you.
All right, let's take a look at the numbers that we have right now in the mayor's race. 92% reporting, and this has not gone up, the 92% number reporting, since our last check. So the spread right now is just a little over 7,179 votes to be exact, in favor of Brandon Johnson.